How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Riley's Redzone, and in this video I will be predicting the outcome of every Week 6 NFL game. Fortunately, last week was not the strongest performance. We ended up 500, which I guess could be worse, but overall we're 49-29 on the season, and I'm getting a little over half of the upset picks right when I make them. And as you can see, we have a couple this week. And one last thing before we start to clarify, I do put the spreads on this side of the graphic so you can see who the favorite is and maybe by how much, like if it's expected to be a blowout or if it's expected to be a tight game. But in the end, I only choose who I think is going to win the game. Maybe someday we'll switch it up, but for now, I just pick who I think will win the game straight up. But we put that so we get an idea if I'm taking a bolder choice. So let's talk about this week's slate. We have the Chiefs and the Broncos on Thursday night, and the Broncos have not beaten the Chiefs in a long time. I did just see the graphic the other day that I think they've won a Super Bowl more recently than they have beat the Chiefs. And I have to go with the Chiefs here. It seems Travis Kelce's health is all right as well. So have to go with the Chiefs in this matchup for sure. This one, there's not a ton of reason to pick the Broncos here. But remember, anything can happen at any point. But I have to go with Chiefs in that one. Ravens, Titans, two teams that I picked to win last week and they both didn't deliver. The Ravens, though, I think have a higher, more consistent level of play of what we've seen. And, Lamar actually played very well last week. Just couldn't get the win. But overall, I think that right now, these are two teams that are going to be desperate for a win. I expect it to be a very good matchup. I think the 4 number is interesting. I think this could come down to a field goal for either team. I could see this going either way. But I'm going to take the Ravens. I think that they have a little bit more consistency on offense and maybe a little bit more explosiveness on defense, but should be a fun matchup there. The Commanders and the Falcons. The Commanders somehow dropped that game against the Bears last week, and the Falcons seem to just still deliver at times during this season. And I historically am a guy who I always think streaks can be broken, that the odds can be overcome. But unfortunately, a few of those picks I've made this year, like if a team has won 4 of the 5 last matchups, they don't do it. It's the same team that wins again. In the Falcons, there's a couple stats going their way that, historically that when I pick against it, maybe it doesn't work. But Desmond Ridder has not lost a home game, which I think is really interesting. Not that he has been playing the best, but they are still at a decent record and getting it done. This was a game, I'll say straight up, that when I first looked at this week's games, my heart and gut instantly said Commanders, just because I think that the Commanders at their best are a better team than the Falcons, but the Falcons have been surprisingly better than I thought they would, and I have to give them credit for that. And so I'm going to go with the Falcons here. I think that they, are good at home, and maybe they have something going with the running backs and all. So I'll go with the Falcons, although I think that the line being within a field goal is absolutely right because, this could be a close one either way. Another one that surprisingly could be a close one is the Vikings and the Bears, now with Justin Jefferson out for the Minnesota Vikings. That injury is very obviously detrimental to that team. I do think that they are going to keep going with Kirk and all that. There's been a lot of rumors that they're going to fire sale stuff, and I don't think that happens. The team, it's one of those things where it's the opposite of what they did last year, but it's the same premise that they're playing one-score games. They always keep it close, but this year they're just not finishing it like they did last year. And so you obviously knew going into the year that there was a decent shot they could regress in those situations because they were so good last year. But starting 1-4 is not ideal. That being said, for them, I think that they are going to keep going. And if there were a team to bounce back against, the Bears are a candidate. Now, the Bears themselves, though, also with the one win, just got theirs last week. So they're riding some momentum. They put up a great game against the Commanders. But with that being said, I think that I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. I think they're a more complete team, and the Vikings are still playing well. They just need to clean up some of those mistakes. But the Bears now might be back on the upswing. Imagine if they can pull 2 in a row as a win. That would be interesting for them, but I'm going to take the Vikings in that one. Seahawks and Bengals. Bengals finally get that bounce back at least a little bit in Arizona. Jamar Chase getting the end zone 3 times, but still a little hesitant on, they haven't been able to show that consistency this season. Seahawks come off a bye. They're looking to bounce back there, and get some momentum. They did end, though, before their bye against the Giants and did get that win. So they have some potential here. I'm going to go with the Bengals, though, because I think these are 2 teams with good rosters that it's going to come down to who just has the better day. And I think at their best, the Bengals are a better team, but this one is going to be a close one because Geno can always keep it close. I'll go with the Bengals, but this is 2 decent teams. They're probably in a similar tier right now. Not in that top contending, but also probably looking at the playoffs, potentially fighting for a spot. Niners, Browns. I have to go with the Niners in almost any matchup right now against anybody. They look like the best team in football. The Browns defense has been able to perform well at times, but going against the Niners offense, that's dangerous, and I'm still very hesitant about the Browns offense. I just don't know what you get on a week-to-week basis. I said it at the beginning of the year, too. It was all going to depend on what Deshaun Watson plays like, what that offense brings, and, of course, the injury to Nick Chubb a couple weeks ago did not help anything. And I think I have to go with the Niners here. It's just a safe choice. It's not even more so about the Browns. It's just the Niners look like a great team. Panthers and Dolphins. The Panthers are struggling, and the Dolphins are not. So I have to go with the Dolphins here. We'll see if Bryce Young can bounce back at any point in that team. But the way it is right now, I just think the Dolphins have a much better shot at winning this one. Colts, Jaguars. Jaguars, pick up a win against the Bills last week was sneaky. Colts, also sneaky. With Anthony Richardson out, it's tough, but Gardner Minshew has actually been all right to me. So I think that they could deliver there, especially against this former team, but I'm going to go with the Jaguars. Same thing, I think their best game is a better game than the Colts have. Their offense, I think, is at their peak, pretty explosive. They have a decent roster overall. This could be a close one, though. I could see it as well coming down to a field goal, but I'm going to go with the Jaguars in this one. Saints and the Texans, 2 teams that were underdogs last week. I took them both, one of which delivered, and that was the Saints. They did beat the Patriots by a wide margin, but the Texans were unable to get over the Falcons, I guess. But the Texans have been sneaky competitive. I thought it was going to take them a little bit longer to get to where they're at, but they are in that spot already to be in kind of that range. And C.J. Stroud is playing very, very well. And I think that their same thing. I think their roster is actually performing pretty well, and I just don't know if the Saints have had enough consistency. I predicted they'd be a playoff team at the end of the year. I still could see that happening with their division. But I think that overall they're not playing unbelievable football right now. I think if they get some things rolling on a good day, the Saints are great. But I'm going to go with the Texans again. I've just got a feeling. But if they don't deliver this week, because it was kind of one of those things where I wasn't picking on the side of them for a little bit, and they were pulling off some upsets, and I started maybe flipped a little too much. I think they're good at times, and that if they don't win this week, though, I might have to go back to the other side and just kind of, if they do get that win, it might be more their spoiler team. They're going to win some matchups you don't think they're going to win. And they have always been the underdog, even in the matchups that I've maybe thought they could win. So in almost all their matchups, I think they've been the underdog. But I'm going to go with the Texans, see what happens there, but that might be a risk. That is one of the upset picks this week. And another one is right behind it. And I don't. This one is a little questionable. This one's just a feeling. This might be more towards, I'm not fully convinced on the Raiders, although I have to give them credit that they have been outperforming what I thought they would this season, especially Jimmy Garoppolo. But their last game against the Packers was pretty good, but still hasn't, like Devontae Adams didn't have the biggest night. I think they should get him more involved. Josh Jacobs can run the ball, but I think that let's talk about the Patriots here because that's a big storyline. They have put up the worst 2 weeks of football of probably Bill Belichick's career coaching anywhere. And, some of the worst performances in football the last 2 weeks of now this league. They're averaging the least amount of points, although I do think that Bill O'Brien's offense is much more capable than what they had previous. This is kind of a feeling game that gives me that Nick Saban versus previous assistants type of thing. I know that streak has been breaking too, so maybe that's a sign of things to come. But the Patriots, I think if they were a team that they need to just get a bounce back win against, I think a team with a former Belichick assistant could be the one. And so I'll take them in a potential bounce back game here. Another one where if they don't get this one, it's a train wreck. And you might need to start thinking about other direction at quarterback for me. But overall, it's on the defense too that you're allowing that many points. So I don't know. This one could go either way, but I'm going to take an upset potential here with the Patriots. Lions, Bucs, two teams that have been outperforming what I thought they would. Baker has that swagger that he's had before and is bringing some confidence to the team, which I like a lot for them. But the Lions, who I was hesitant to kind of jump on the train early in the season, have actually been performing and I think might be legit. So I have to go that direction. Although the Baker and the Bucs always keep it tight, I think that the Detroit Lions might be legit. Have to go in that direction for this game on the road. Should be a good one there. I think that Goff is performing well enough offensively, and Hutchinson on the defensive side is turning into a game wrecker. Cardinals and the Rams. Cardinals always keep it close no matter what against who they play for the most part. Last week against the Bengals wasn't quite it, but they either get blown out or they keep it real tight and close. So the Rams are a team that they've put up some of the better performances that teams have against those juggernauts, like the 49ers and the Eagles. I think that this is, on paper, you have to take the Rams here. I think they have a better roster, especially with Cooper Kupp coming back. Although this feels like one of those perfect games that if I was picking the spread, might be one where the Cardinals +7 is a decent bet. But I, in this case, just need to go with the Rams. It's a safe choice. The Eagles and the Jets. I think that the Eagles are looking like one of the best teams. I don't see the quite dominance that I do sometimes from the 49ers or anything like that. But I think that they have, beat everybody on their schedule. They're doing what they need to do. And the Jets, when they're playing an adequate team below, I think that they can win. Defensively, they're pretty good. And Zach Wilson has been playing well enough to get some wins over the last few weeks. But I think I have to go with the Eagles in this matchup. It's the safer choice. And I can't pick against them if they were playing pretty much almost anybody right now besides a few teams. Giants, Bills. I have to go with the Bills here. They've looked like a much more explosive team. The Giants have been quite a disappointment this season. I did expect them to take a step down. Maybe not this far down, though. They have not been showing up. But maybe they can get something going this time. Maybe. I don't know, but the Bills are not the team I would bet them to do it against. But we'll see if the Giants at some point, if Saquon comes back, maybe can get some life again. But for now, I have to go with the Bills. And the Cowboys and the Chargers is what we're going to close it out with. I'm going to take an upset with the Chargers. Kellen Moore versus Mike McCarthy is going to be a storyline here, the former coordinator for the Cowboys. But the Cowboys, for me, at their best, look like maybe the second best team in football, the third best, for sure top 5. The Niners, to me, in their top performances, and maybe the Dolphins in their top performances have been the best. But the Cowboys in their best games, I think, have looked better than the Eagles in their best games. But the problem is then you get what you get last week when you play the Niners. And the Niners, like I said, might be the best team, but man, that was not even close. Dak has made some questionable decisions at times, but in other games this season, he's looked great. So this is a game that whoever is just going to be able to take care of the football is going to win this game. And I'll take the odds of an upset here in Justin Herbert. I think that their offense, and Eckler might be coming back this week, I think their offense is just more consistent. They're coming off a bye as well. I think that on a day-to-day basis, they're giving you more than what the Cowboys do consistently. And the Cowboys defense in a few games has been like the best thing of all time. It's a cheat code in fantasy football, putting up like 35 points. But the Chargers in their own right also have dominance on defense. Joey Bosa. And there was a game this season that Khalil Mack had 5 sacks. I mean, they have the potential to do that. So I'll take the Chargers in an upset if this becomes a high-flying affair. But if it's a defensive shutout, then it might come down to the Cowboys taking advantage of that. So I'll take the Chargers, although I think it'll be close. Thank you so much for watching this week's picks. I greatly appreciate the support, and I'll see you next time in the future video.